Welcome everybody, Film Fan 108 here to my Blu-ray pickup video for October of 2020. Now we're slowly but steadily getting through the pickups for the year, and now we're rolling into a very big month worth of pickups. And damn, man, I got some good stuff this time around. Woo! Quite the haul this time, baby. So let's get into it, shall we? With the first title that I picked up for the month, and that is none other than Little Monsters, baby. Yes! Oh man, the Vestron Collector Series edition of Little Monsters with this really fantastic slip. Oh, so awesome. Oh, so great. And the same artwork on the inside as well. Little Monsters goodness, man. God damn, do I love this movie. Oh my god. Okay, so before this pickup and even the next pickup, I have never owned any of the Vestron Collector Series. These are the first ones that I've ever gotten. Now, I know you guys are going to be like, wait a minute, you've never gotten any of the other Vestron Collector Series? And to me, I mean, those movies that they've put out before have been good, don't get me wrong, but I never actually felt the impulse to wanting to get them. But when they announced Little Monsters, that was like, yes. I was like, yas, bitch. I'm like, I needed this. This movie, you have to remember, guys, truth be told here, this is one of these movies that my mother and father rented on VHS many times. They finally ended up actually, finally taping over it, on HBO on one of the VHS tapes. I watched this movie ad nauseum. I loved this movie. I did. This movie's fucking amazing. And it just holds so much nostalgia in my heart. I mean, truly, honestly does, man. I mean, basically, the movie is about Brian, played by Fred Savage, who ends up finding that there are these monsters that come out from under your bed to basically wreak havoc on kids, get them in trouble, and basically cause mayhem and mischief. And Brian friends one of them, Maurice. Oh, Maurice, God. Oh, man. Played by Howie Mandel. And basically, in a nutshell, it's their friendship and their journey going together and dealing with, getting in trouble, and Brian slowly, perhaps maybe becoming a monster, and how the monster world is sort of slowly sucking him in. Oh my god, man. I can't say really any bad thing about Little Monsters. I really honestly can't, because it's so fucking good, man. I mean, the acting here is great. Fred Savage is awesome as Brian, and you have to remember that this was like this time period for Fred Savage was so huge. I mean, you had the Wonder Years, and you had obviously the Princess Bride, and Little Monsters, and The Wizard, and it was like he was like the main kid in the 80s. Girls were always like, and and little kids like me wanted to be him, and so he was just absolutely awesome. And Howie Mandel playing Maurice, dude, he embodied just the fun and the mischief that I imagine any monster would have. You know, basically causing trouble for little kids. He epitomizes that, and he brings so much fun and energy to this role that is undeniable. Of that, Fred Savage, as good as Fred Savage is, if it wasn't for Howie Mandel here, I don't really know how the movie would have been. Howie Mandel brings something to this role that I don't think many other people, maybe outside of Robin Williams, could have ever really accomplished. And give him all the credit in the world. He is amazing here. And by the way, the makeup effects are fantastic. At times, you don't even really see that as Howie Mandel. You only see Maurice. You don't see really much of the facial features that make Howie who he is. And I think it's a credit to the makeup artist, but it's a credit to Howie Mandel for making it work. And he makes it work incredibly well. I also really love the underground monster world as well. And, looking back on it now as an adult, yeah, the monster world is a little cheapo with sort of crates and boxes and, little fairy stuff flying around and not much else. But I got to admit that back in the day, it was I used my imagination as a kid, and with all the toys and all the great creature designs, like it just to me it just opened up the possibilities in my mind as a kid, my imagination of like what is possible. And so yeah, looking back on it, it might not be as great as it once was, but for me, I think it still holds up to this day. It really does. Sometimes simple is not a bad thing. You don't need to go overly elaborate, but you just need to go simple but yet effective. And I think that's where it really lies. And I just think for me, it's still a trip into nostalgia. Because I ended up watching this movie again with my girlfriend, who had never seen the movie before. And she was watching it, and she really liked the movie. She thought the movie was great. But because she's watching it, as an adult, she doesn't have that same flavor of nostalgia that I do, that I watched it as a kid, and I can take that nostalgia and it still holds true to this day. And I think when it comes to certain movies, and it doesn't matter whether it's Little Monsters or other films from back in the day, I think for certain movies, I think it depends on when you watch them. You know what I mean? If you watch a certain movie like Little Monsters when you're an adult, maybe the same amount of imagination and just wide-eyed wonder you kind of lose. When you're a kid, it's just it's all there, and you can create it in your mind, and you're having fun with these characters, and it's just and you just want to be Brian, you want to be Maurice, and you want to be in that world. And rewatching it, just those nostalgic moments, man, just flooded right back to me. So I love this movie so much, man. I can't say enough really great things about this. And give Vestron a lot of credit. This is the first time I've ever bought anything from Vestron, and they do great here. You get an audio commentary with the editor-in-chief of cultofmonsters.com, and he's a fanboy of the movie. You could tell the information that he gives, the great little anecdotes, really awesome there. You also end up getting a lot of really great interviews with the producer, makeup effects designer, and Howie Mandel. And I gotta say, I love the interview with Howie Mandel because he is honest, man. He is brutally honest. He honestly talks about the makeup process, and if you've ever really known much about Howie Mandel, he is a germaphobe. Like, that guy does not like to touch people at all. And he talks about how having the latex on and how you sweat inside the latex and how literally you're like drowning in your own sweat, and he has to be on set and be, hey, really, really animated and entertaining, and he was just so fucking depressed. And give Howie so much credit for that, man. I mean, he pulled it off. I don't think he'd ever do it again, but it was an experience that he will never, never forget, man. Really fascinating interview with that. You also end up getting, vintage interviews with Fred Savage and a few other people, behind the scenes footage. You also get theatrical trailer, still galleries, and I love this. There's a VHS promo that, oh my god, I cannot believe, man, back in the day, I was watching this VHS promo, and they talk about, oh, you can buy Little Monsters for $80. Then I'm like, The VHS for $80. Like, what the fuck? Oh my god, we paid that shit back in the day. Oh my god, us kids literally forced our parents to pay that shit. God damn. No shit, dude. And they were talking about how there was like this phone line where you could call to win prizes, and it was like, well, it's $1.99 a minute, and you know you'd be on there for fucking a half hour, man. So you end up using your parents' credit card. You're like, oh my god, the shit that we used to do to our parents back in the day, man. God damn, dude, shit's wild, man. Damn, man. But this movie is such a blast from the fucking past. I love this movie so goddamn much, and to me, it's just a part of my childhood that just came flooding right back when I watched it. It's still entertaining. It's still fun as hell. The performances are really fantastic. Howie Mandel is magical as Maurice, and it's just a really fun time that I think I can watch anytime, and there will always be a smile on my face. Truly, I love this movie so much, guys. Hopefully you guys do too. If not, if you haven't watched it, please do it. It's so fun, man. And Vestron did a great job. Can't fault them. Awesome release. Monsters do exist. Trust me, I've seen them. Little monsters. And speaking of Vestron, our next pickup is none other than Shivers. Yes, look at, oh, I love that cover. Oh. Being terrified is just the beginning. Oh, look, I love it. Love this cover so goddamn much, man. And on the inside, the same artwork here. Not half bad, man. Now, actually, I got both Little Monsters and Shivers on a great deal on Diabolic DVD, man. It was like a really incredibly low price for both of the movies, and I'm like, my god, if I don't take advantage of this, then I'm really one stupid motherfucker. So I was like, I'm gonna go for this, man, because I didn't really think it was actually gonna be in stores. I just never really thought it was, and then when I eventually saw them in stores, I'm like, oh shit. Like, they were actually going to be there, which was cool, but you don't want to sometimes take a gamble on that, so I ordered through Diabolic regardless. Hey, I'm glad I did. Just put it that way, man, because you never know. But Shivers, see, unlike Little Monsters that I had known I had seen, Shivers I've heard of, but I never have seen it. But I trust in David Cronenberg, and believe it or not, this movie is the very first theatrical run debut of one David Cronenberg. And my god, this is a man that I've seen so many of his films, whether we're talking about Scanners or The Fly. My god, so many of them. Dead Ringers, you name it. He's done amazing amounts of movies. Love them. Think he's phenomenal. But I'd never seen Shivers, and I thought, okay, this is a great opportunity to see this movie. Now, basically, it's about these residents in this apartment high-rise that are being invaded by these parasites that enter into your body and turn you into these violent, sex-crazed maniacs. You lose your identity, you lose who you are, and you become part of whatever these parasites are. And it's basically these people that are trying to survive what's going on and try to stop it at all costs. Okay? Now, when you look at movies like Slither, or when you look at Night of the Creeps, you look at a movie like Slither and you say, okay, it was clearly influenced by Night of the Creeps. Okay. But I truly believe that even a movie like Night of the Creeps or even Slither had to have been influenced in some way by Shivers. Because it's the same sort of slug-like concept. They go into the mouth. They change you into, this ravenous human being or a dead-like person and who's trying to infect other people around them. And so the concept isn't new, obviously, but I think that Cronenberg was one of the first to really use it to its fullest potential. And I think other movies followed because of that. But I gotta say, man, this movie is very ominous, it's very creepy, and it's very chilling. Because, at times you don't know what's going on, why the parasites are the way they are. Obviously these people are like chained and they're throwing up other slug-like parasites that are going around and infecting other people, and you know you you look at someone, they look normal, they look like you and I, but you realize slowly but surely that they're not who they are. And they're more violent, they're more vicious. They want to literally get up close to you and turn you into one of them. And it's terrifying. It's absolutely terrifying to me. And it's interesting because yes, this movie is from the 70s, and yes, when you look back on it now, it's a little bit of kind of like, oh, it's kind of cheap. But for the time it was made, I think it was really effective. And I think for the most part, it still holds up. Yeah, the slugs are a little bit looking kind of, kind of cheapo and, not extremely effective 100% of the time. But again, you go with it because it's Cronenberg. And Cronenberg is so effective with storytelling. Just his first feature film alone, you you can feel these people's predicaments. You can see that they're not prepared what's going to happen to them, and they've just been completely blindsided by this. I loved it. Absolutely, absolutely loved it, man. And this movie is not one of those like, oh, there's a happy ending with this movie, right? Oh, oh my God, they survive and everything is back to normal. No, this is dark. This is a dark, dark ending, a dark movie, a dark ending, and it reminded me so much of Invasion of the Body Snatchers, the one from the 70s. Because at the end of that film, like you think maybe there's some hope, and then Donald Sutherland is like, and then suddenly he's like, ah, like you're like, oh fuck, man. Like this movie at the end of this film, man, like there is no hope. Like there's no fucking hope, man. Like you're like, oh shit, they're going to affect everybody else. The world's fucking doomed. Like that is like oh my god, man. I love those gut wrenching endings. Whether it's like Invasion of the Body Snatchers or The Mist, like something where you're like, oh my god, like you just leave so fucking depressed. but but in a kind of satisfying way, if that makes sense, man. I just look at movies like Shivers and think to myself, if this were to really happen, if this was a reality, like you think to yourself, you're like, man, we're so screwed, dude. We're so impossibly screwed. Like this could happen and the world would be just taken over in a heartbeat, man. Like, damn. It is quite scary, man. The things that you don't understand and don't know and you're not prepared for can really bite you in the ass. And Shivers is one of those really great what ifs, man. Man, so effective. The acting, yes, can be a little cheesy. Again, it was the 70s, but you go with it. And Cronenberg is a master of suspense, and he just takes over, man. I mean, it's great. And give Vestron a lot of credit with this, clearly, because they did a great job. Again, you get two audio commentaries. You get one with the master himself, David Cronenberg, and it's really great, man. I mean, he talks about, the making of this movie, obviously the budget, the limitations, what they were trying to do with the film. Very interesting stuff here. You also get a audio commentary with a co-producer, which is good. Not nearly as good as the Cronenberg commentary, but good. You also get an interview with the writer-director himself, David Cronenberg. Of course, talks about some of the similar stuff in the commentary. You also end up getting an interview with actress Lynn Lowry. Now, Lynn is an icon in adult film cinema. She's also an icon within horror cinema as well. And I had forgotten that she was in this movie. I had heard she was at one point, but it's been so long since I've really really seen much with Lynn Lowry, and I had never seen the movie before. I heard she was in it. She's great here. She plays this really strong woman, but yet very meek and scared at the same time, and somebody that's just trying to survive best she can. And when it turns for her, you feel bad, but you can't feel bad for her for very long because she's now wanting to infect you. And I love her turn. She talks about making this movie, how she loved working with Cronenberg, and she talks about how the ending of the movie, she wasn't originally supposed to be in the ending of the film. She had wrapped her filming and she had left. And when they were figuring out the ending, Cronenberg was like, well, it would only be fitting if she came back to infect the final person. And so they asked Lynn, hey, would you come back? And Lynn said, yeah, sure, well, of course I will. And so that's how the ending happened. But originally that was not supposed to the way it was actually going to go. So thank God Lynn wanted to come back, man, because it works incredibly, man. You have that. You also have an interview with special makeup effects creator, and talks about obviously the slugs, making the slugs try to be somewhat realistic, move around the best they possibly can. He did a good job. I mean, again, this is the 70s. This is not, animatronic world here or CGI stuff that you see nowadays. You really had to do your best to work your ass off to make this work and be effective. And I think they did a good job on that. You also end up getting some vintage interviews, still galleries, theatrical trailers, TV spots, radio spots, and much, much more. Look, man, I thought this movie was great. I truly do. And for me, as a fan of Cronenberg, and looking at Cronenberg's sort of career, things like Existence and History of Violence and all these other great stuff that he's done, and to trace it all the way back to Shivers is phenomenal, man. And it just goes to show you that when I look at this movie, I see the Cronenberg of the future. I see the Fly Cronenberg, and I see Scanners Cronenberg, and I see a Cronenberg that is weird and slightly off kilter, and somebody that can do really unique body horror. And it all starts here, man, and you could see it. It's so great. And to me, I love body horror, and I love sort of weird alien, invading our bodies movies. So this was right up my alley, man, and it was really effective. And I thought it ended up being a really great, pleasant surprise for me. And as a Cronenberg lover, it's even better seeing it his first film, man. If you love these type of movies, if you love something like Slither or Night of the Creeps, know that this is a much darker movie, but you can definitely see where those influences came from those filmmakers. And Shivers was where it started, baby. Really great. Some good old body horror. Can't be beat. Not half bad. Shivers. And the next pickup, guys, is a release from MVD, and that is none other than Brutal Massacre, a comedy. Yes, look at that. Oh, that is great artwork. Very cherry, dare I say, man. Look at that. Oh, so good. And on the inside, same artwork. But goddamn, do I love that, man. Oh, so good. And look at how great people. David Naughton, Ken Foree, Gunnar Hansen, Brian O'Halloran. This is Spinal Tap for horror fans. Let's dive into this. Now, I had heard of Brutal Massacre. I had heard of it because I went to one of the Scarecon conventions and you had David Naughton there. And, I went up to David Naughton. Of course, you talk about, obviously, American Werewolf in London, and another one of his that I really love is Midnight Madness. But, when we went to his panel that he was doing, he talked about a movie called Brutal Massacre that he did, a long while back. And he had said that it's a movie that he really loved doing. He thought it was a really fantastic movie. He had a wonderful time making it. You know, a lot of really great people involved. But he said it never really gained the type of love and attention that he was really hoping it would. And that kind of always stuck in my head, that he had done this movie, but I never looked it up after I had went to that convention. I it just kind of stuck there in the back of my head about it until MVD announced this, and I was like, oh shit, Brutal Massacre. Oh my god, I totally remember David Naughton talking about that, but I just never decided to follow up, actually look into it. So I was like, wow, this is like, I gotta get this. So I did. Now, basically, it's about David Naughton playing this director, Harry Panderecki. And he is a very, well, sometimes well known in cult circles, not so well known in other circles, sort of horror director. And he does these really cheesy, really downgrade horror flicks. He's had some success, but more often, not so much. And he's going to be making his new movie called Brutal Massacre. And so, you know, this is going to be his opus. This is what he's going to be remembered for. And it's sort of the making of the movie, almost like it's a documentary style thing, with him going through the difficulties of making this film with the locations and the crew and the actors, and this is really truly almost straight out of the same idea as Spinal Tap. And I gotta give this movie a lot of credit because it is pretty damn good. I mean, first of all, the acting here is great. I mean, David Naughton, you don't really get to see David Naughton like this. I mean, he's embracing his horror roots. He's embracing the absurdity of the situation, but yeah, playing a character who just really wants to get this movie done, and every fucking obstacle is in this motherfucker's way. Literally, he can't get a goddamn fucking thing done. I love that. I love Ken Foree here, who plays this very easygoing guy that, you know, has to deal with all the shit around him. Gunnar Hansen, God, oh my god, Gunnar Hansen, man, I miss Gunnar. Gunnar, dude, God. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Gunnar Hansen, bro. Man, I miss him. He plays a small role in this movie, but he plays this really psychotic weirdo that owns this house that they're gonna film at, and he's always sort of doing something creepy and weird in the background. You're like, what the fuck is up with this guy? Like, Gunnar does a great job with this. Brian O'Halloran, who actually plays the first assistant director to Harry, he is great. He's a horror fan. He loves horror movies, and he wants to see Harry's vision come to life. But he just is so inept at his fucking job, man. He has the best of intentions, but goddamn, does he not know what the fuck he's doing? And it's just like everybody is incompetent at one level or another. And it's just the absurdity of the situation that gets to that, man. Whether it's like the special makeup effects that should come out really great but turn out fucking wrong, or the locals who are hassling them on set, or the fucking actors who decided to quit at the very last moment because they get a job on TV as a doctor or some shit. Like, it's just one fucking thing wrong every single fucking time, man. And I just love the craziness and the absurdity of it. I just really do, man. God. To me, see, is it as funny as This Is Spinal Tap? No, it's not as funny as This Is Spinal Tap. Because This Is Spinal Tap almost never will be taken out of top contention for some of those mockumentaries. No way, no how. Movie's awesome. Is it the best horror comedy you've ever seen? No, because I think the horror is decent, but it's not exactly real horror that's going on. It's sort of fake horror around making a horror movie. The comedy is decent at times, but it is a little bit dry. I think overall it's a satisfying and decently well made and well put together movie is what I will say, man. And look, this is coming from a horror movie lover. And trust me, I have seen everything under the sun from torture porn to slashers, crazy, alien invasion flicks, horror comedies, zombie movies, you name it, I've most likely seen it or seen most types of genres of it. And Brutal Massacre takes the making of a slasher movie and a horror flick and puts it into this great absurd situation that I think you just kind of relate to. Just the people's passion and how it just goes absolutely utterly wrong, man, at every fucking turn, man. I think it's a fun flick. I think it's fun. I do recommend this flick, but go in with checked expectations. Go in with checked expectations and know that it's not a movie that's perfect, and it's not even the best horror comedy that you're ever gonna see because there's way better ones out there. But I think it's very competent. I think it's very well made, and you can see all the actors really having a fun time making this movie, and you can see that they all love the genre in one way or another, and they're bringing their love to the movie, and it really shows. So I do give this movie a lot of credit. I really do, man, and give MVD a lot of credit on this, man. Because first of all, great cover. I mean, the cover art is awesome here, but you do get photo gallery, behind the scenes, poster gallery. You do get deleted scenes on the set, trailers, weekend at horrors panel. What happened was true, and commentary with writer director Stephen Mina. I love how so some of the onset behind the scenes of it is they take this mockumentary style filmmaking and they put it to the behind the scenes aspect to it. I really like it. And I really even love the audio commentary with the writer director because he talks about bringing these horror icons together, making this movie, what his intentions were, why he chose certain things the way he did. It's a very insightful commentary, and I really did like that a lot, man. I mean, think about this. There is no other movie of its kind, okay, that has David Naughton in it, Kevin Furry, Gunnar Hansen, all in the same flick together. I guarantee you this is the only film that you've ever seen that has those individuals there. They're all icons in their own right, and they all bring something very unique and interesting. And by the way, they all bring something different than what their personas are used to. Because I think there's a great sort of weekend of horrors panel here where all the actors come up, talk about making the movie and everything, and Gunnar is there. And Gunnar talks about how he did this movie because it was his chance to do comedy. It was his chance to do a certain amount of comedy and something that he doesn't really get to do. It gets to play on sort of the horror aspect of him being a crazy psychopath and making fun of it. And I really like that. And Ken Furry talks about how, this was something different that he'd never done before. The same thing with David Naughton. That these guys love the genre. They love the fans. They love playing these characters, but they also love doing something different and being challenged. And this is a really great way to sort of make fun of the horror genre, but yet do a nice homage to it at the same time. I really did enjoy this one. I thought it was really well done, guys. Honestly, it's not the best, but it's decent, and I definitely enjoyed it. And as a horror movie lover, sometimes it's nice to see the genre being made fun of a time or two. A little tongue in cheek, but definitely you can see the love involved, and there is a lot of love put into this. Clearly, not a bad mockumentary. Brutal Massacre, a comedy. And the next pickup, guys, we're switching directions and going Arrow Video with the next pickup, and that is none other than Ivan's Ecstasy. Yes! Oh, baby, look at that. He's clearly doing a little drug action, baby. From the director of Immortal Beloved and Candyman. Oh, baby, oh, baby. Oh, baby. Let's talk about Ivan's Ecstasy, shall we? So, I had never heard of this movie. Arrow announced it, and I'm like, oh my god, it's got some really great actors in here. I mean, it's got Danny Houston and Peter Weller. Dude, I love Peter Weller. Fucking RoboCop. Of course I love him. And I'm thinking, okay, it's an interesting movie about this Hollywood guy, this agent who is in the wild world of Hollywood, sex, drugs, money, and how he is slowly dying because of his cancer diagnosis. And that it's sort of an introspective movie about his life and almost like trying to forgive himself of all the things that he's done wrong. And so I thought, okay, there's an interesting concept here. I like the actors. I'm going to give this a chance. My girlfriend and I sat down to watch this movie because I remember sort of giving her the pile of the October pickups and saying, okay, what do you want to watch? Okay, and she picked this one, and I said, oh, okay, we're off and running, and we watched this, and I'm not gonna lie, guys, we hated this movie. Like, I'm serious, we outright hated this film. Okay, now there's so many reasons for it, but I guess for us, for my girlfriend and I, at the end of the day, this movie was boring. Okay, truth be told, this movie is boring. There were times when we were just sitting there and we were waiting for something to happen. Like, when I heard about the idea of this drug fueled trip that this guy is going through and being very introspective, I almost thought of something like Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas with Johnny Depp, and I'm like, oh, I love that movie. So if this is anything like that, God, I'm gonna love it. And boy, could that be farther from the fucking truth, man. I mean, seriously, this movie is outright disappointing, man. I mean, the acting's good here. I mean, Danny Houston does a great job in a great role. Peter Weller, I thought, played a really great scumbag in this movie, something you don't really get to see from him a lot. Loved him in this. The acting overall was good. I just thought the storytelling was really dull and lifeless and boring. And I thought the way they told the story was really bad too, because my girlfriend and I were watching it, and the beginning of the movie, spoilers for some of you guys, the beginning of the movie is basically his death, right? So you're seeing everybody reacting to the fact that he's dead, and they're going to his funeral, and people are fighting, and upset about it. Some people are like, well, we knew it was coming, and and everything. And then they go back and they show his life. Him sort of being this top Hollywood agent, to him getting the diagnosis, to, doing the drugs and thinking about his life. And it was interesting because my girlfriend and I are like, we don't understand why they started with his death. Because wouldn't it have been better to start with him starting to actually like live his life and getting it and sort of going through that way instead of doing the opposite? Because the storytelling didn't make any sense of why we had to start there. It's not like people are learning some grand lesson because he died. There's just nothing here that really connects the reason why you have to see that. But it's also the fact that this movie looks cheap. This movie looks like it was shot on like the cheapest cell phone you could possibly fucking get. And it's so weird because I told my girlfriend, I know it's not a cheap movie because they wouldn't have gotten Peter Weller or Danny Houston or some of these other actors. You wouldn't have gotten Bernard Rose, who did Candyman, who's a good director, to if they shot it cheap. I mean, but we're watching the movie, and the movie looks very cheaply done. it looks like very amateur like some of the shots that they're doing. And I'm almost thinking to myself, I'm watching the movie, I'm like, shit, I could do a better job at this. Like, the filmmaking is very choppy and terrible. Maybe that was the intention, to make it very amateurish. Maybe kind of like this guy's life. I don't really know. This movie kind of confounded me because on one hand I was really bored. On the other hand, I was thinking to myself, how the fuck does this movie get made? Who gave them the money for this? And I know it's based off of a Tolstoy novel, and my girlfriend is like, she reads a lot of books. She's read Tolstoy, and she's like, I don't see how this really connects to Tolstoy, and like, we're just sitting there, we're like, we're falling asleep to this movie, where this movie is fucking boring. And so, you know what, man? I mean, God bless Arrow for putting out movies that are unknowns, because I still feel it's very important to put out movies that still need a voice, still out there in the world, movies that you feel like, maybe can get a fighting chance with people to find it. And I tried, man. I'm not gonna lie. I tried to watch this movie. Seriously, I did. And I just could not get into this movie, man, to save my life. I mean, and I'm a guy that I'm like, okay, Peter Weller, man. I love Peter Weller, and I love Bernard Rose, who directed Candyman. I'm like, this has got to be like a weird, trippy descent into madness. And it never turned into that. And I'm kind of really disappointed in the movie, because maybe I hyped it up to myself. Maybe Arrow overhyped it. I don't really know. But at the end of the day, when I watch this movie, I'm just incredibly dissatisfied with the end product here. And if this is supposed to be some hard-hitting portrayal about a Hollywood agent and Hollywood life, it just comes off as really dull and really boring. And I just almost fell into my own dreamland, which my imagination could be better than this fucking movie. I mean, okay, so I don't know, man. I did not like this movie whatsoever, guys. Damn, this was a major, major disappointment. I hate to say it, dude. It really was, man. I mean, give Arrow credit, but this one's a real stinker. You do get extended producer's cut, and I saw the theatrical cut, and then I saw the extended cut, and yeah, the extended cut, maybe puts a little bit more context to things, but it's still boring. The story still isn't that good. It's still just as dragged out. So and dragged out even more. So to me, extended cut wasn't like a major revelation or something. It just was the same boring shit, only a little bit longer. You know. I mean, you have that, you have a brand new documentary on the making of the film, and, they go out of their way to really talk about, working with the actors, the Hollywood setting, the adaptation. They talk about all that, and it's good, but if I don't like the movie, then the documentary doesn't really bring any highlights to me. It's just like, oh, you made a movie that I think is very boring and terrible. So there you go, man. You do get Q&As with some of the actors, screening from the Egyptian Theater, archival interviews, original theatrical trailer. Look, it's movies like this that, I mean, if this was the first movie that I had watched Peter Weller in, or Danny Houston, I would say, fuck this, I'm out. Like these guys didn't impress me, that's it, I am done. But I had already seen a lot of their really great work, and this was one that I was like, oh, it is a curiosity. But man, this was just boring shit from the very get-go. And I just didn't really like it, man. So, did it have a great idea attached to it? Yes. But the great idea just didn't deliver. And at the end of the day, man, I really was pissed off by this movie. Just of how how just goddamn lifeless and boring it is. I'm willing to go with a film. I'm a movie lover. I love a lot of shit that a lot of people don't like. But, I sort of agree with a lot of my friends, man. If a movie just doesn't get going fast enough or isn't intriguing enough to me, I start to just sit there and I'm like, I just start going out, man. And this is one of those movies, dude. Bernard Rose is good. Love Candyman, but fuck, I cannot recommend this, man. A weird descent into trippy drug madness. Watch Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. Not Ivan's Ecstasy. And the next pickup that I got, guys, well, we're heading into Vinegar Syndrome territory, and that is none other than Killing Birds. Yes, look at that, man, with that really great slip. Look at that, man. Guy getting his eye pecked out by some fucking bird. Like, ah, ah, ah. Like he's not having a pleasant time. Not at all. And then on the inside, some more eye pecking goodness with another title for the movie called Raptors. And that is not the last name for the movie because it's also called Zombie 5. But we'll get there. So, look, man, I love Vinegar Syndrome. I love giving Vinegar Syndrome a chance. I really do. And, when I was thinking about buying this, I thought, well, God, I own Zombie. I own Zombie 2. I own Zombie 3. I own Zombie 4. So, why not Zombie 5? Nope. No. No. Lord help me. So, oh God. So, look. Basically, the movie is about these college students that are doing this research paper on this sort of rare species of bird. And basically, in a nutshell, they go to this old dark house. There's this creepy guy. There's killer birds. Somehow zombies pop out of nowhere. This supernatural element. All hell breaks loose, and these college students are just trying to survive, man. That's what the movie is. And God damn, dude, I wanted to like this movie. I mean, when I saw the Zombie 5 thing, I was like, hey, why not? Right? I like some cheesy shit, but this thing, man, look, I mean, the acting is gonna be cheesy anyways, I get it, but these kids are like, it's fucking amateur hour from top to bottom. I mean, even Robert Vaughn in this motherfucker. Robert Vaughn is just phoning it in, man. I mean, did he need the paycheck? Like, what the fuck? Like, seriously. And even, like, the killer bird stuff is kind of cool, but at the end of the day, man, it's too little too late. Even the fucking zombies who come out of nowhere because, what, Zombie 5, so, gotta put in some fucking zombies. And so they just, for no apparent fucking reason, zombies just show up out of nowhere. Why? Oh, who gives a fucks? I mean, this is literally everything and the kitchen sink model of horror flicks. And this is an Italian horror film. Now look, I own a lot of Italian horror films in the collection, and I can tell you that there are times when I watch a horror film from Italy, and I'm like, this movie don't make a shitload of sense. The visuals are cool, but it just, like, I don't know what the fuck's going on. This is the same idea, man. The only difference is that I don't know if it's good Italian cinema, right? Like even a lot of Italian films that don't make sense, I can at least say, look, they're beautiful to look at, and there's really great sequences, and they're well crafted, and there's stuff to like about them. This, it's just cheaply made, cheaply done with the effects. The actors are just kind of phoning it in, amateur. the story is very amateurish. Everything about this is just cheap and amateurish, and it just comes off as sort of an 80s knockoff of better movies, right? They're like, oh well, we gotta get a little Dawn of the Dead action in there. We gotta get a get a little killer bird like like Alfred Hitchcock's The Bird action. Pop that in there. We gotta get a little the old dark house stuff and the creepy house from Texas Chainsaw. Throw that shit in there. It's just like amalgamation of a whole lot of shit that maybe sounded cool at the time, but putting it together is a real clusterfuck, man. Damn. Like I was watching this and I'm like, this movie is garbage, man. Fuck. like and look, I don't expect everything that I buy to be winners. Okay, I wish that'd be nice. I wouldn't be wasting my money, but like there's certain times when I knew going into this, I knew Zombie 5 or Killing Birds or Raptors or whatever the fuck you want to call it was not going to be like a modern masterpiece. Like I knew it was never going to be that. Okay, I get it. There's a lot of movies that I buy from Vinegar Syndrome or Code Red or Severin or all these other companies that I know is not going to be like high praise, like ultimate, like the cinema gods love this thing. Like I know it's not going to be that way. But I wanted some sort of competency, something. I wanted some sort of rockin' good time where I could be like, okay, this is a cool like Italian 80s horror flick that's got cool music and cool babes and cool horror to it, and nada, nothing, zippo, motherfucking zilch. Oh man, I just this movie, I just sat there thinking to myself, this movie's garbage, and it will always be garbage, and I am so glad that at least I got to check this out because there's a release coming of this movie from 88 Films. I believe it is. And I was like, "Oh, this movie's good. I'll buy it again." And I'm like, "No, I'm not doing it, dude. No way, no how." And you know what? At the end of the day, I mean, they even have an interview here with their director. And the director is like, yeah, it's not really all that great of a movie anyways. It kind of sucks. And he's like, yeah, it is what it is. And he's like, it never made sense to put the zombies in there or even call it Zombie 5. And he was critical. And I appreciate the guy's honesty. He knows what this is, dude. I mean, he knows what it is. And I mean, it just, I mean, you even have a brand new audio commentary by the historian talking about this movie, and yeah, and even the sound guy they talk to, and the audio commentary, they're like, well, in Italian cinema in the 80s, and they're going through all this great, wonderful talk about the 80s and Italian cinema and this movie and the zombie franchise, and I'm like, dude, you're wasting your fucking breath, bro. Like this movie is so not worth doing this in-depth commentary for. I mean, I appreciate it. I love you. I love your effort, man. You're really going for it, but fuck, man. Like this movie, Killing Birds. You're gonna put your hard-earned effort into this. I mean, damn, man, shit. So, I mean, I like killer bird action. I like zombies. I thought the two would work well together, but I was so impossibly fucking wrong. And that's my bad. I blame myself. So, God love Vinegar Syndrome. I love him to death. Will always love him, but sometimes, man, there's moments where I pick wrong, and Killing Birds is one of them. So, I've learned my lesson. Never buying Killing Birds again. No. Done. Done. If you're interested in a terrible Italian knockoff horror flick, then I guess Killing Birds is your thing. But if I were you, I'd stick to better ripoffs. And trust me, there's a lot better than Killing Birds. Truly. Seriously. Trust me. killing birds. And the next pickup, guys, is, well, now we're heading to Severin Films love, baby. And the first of the Severin Films lot is none other than Massacre in Dinosaur Valley. Yeah, look at that, man. Oh my god, what a great goddamn slip, man. I love that slip. And then on the inside, I changed the artwork to this one, slightly different with the alligators and everything. Oh, so nice. Severin and their slips. What can I tell you? They do a great job, man. Now, let's get into Massacre in Dinosaur Valley. Now, this is a cannibal movie. Now, if you guys have been around the channel long enough, you know I do love a good chomping, flesh-eating cannibal style movie. Man, I just love that shit. So, this movie, man, is basically about this paleontologist and some scientists and some models. Why are their models going out into the jungle? Who gives a fuck? So, they're on this plane, and the plane crashes in the middle of the jungle, pretty much halfway to where they're supposed to go. And they are literally now, they are stuck. Their plane's crashed, and they've got to try to get to where they have to go. And it's just basically their fight for survival, because they are in this jungle, and literally from the snakes, or the jungle itself trying to kill you, or shit, the fucking cannibals, man, that are trying to run after you and basically want to eat your flesh. Every single challenge, and they just have to try to survive and try to trust one another in the process. So I didn't really know much about Massacre in Dinosaur Valley. I really didn't. I had seen the Severin trailer, and I was like, dude, this looks really cool, and I'm going to give it a chance. And I was pleasantly pleased by Massacre in Dinosaur Valley. I really was, because it's very tongue-in-cheek, right? Like, they're not taking themselves extremely seriously. They know what kind of movie this is, but they also are just having a lot of fun with it, but also taking it serious when it needs to be. Like, with, like, the gore and the blood and the special effects, like, all that is really, really cool. And the characters range from lighthearted to, like, slimeball scumbag type of characters, man. And everything in between. And I love it, because with a cannibal movie, for me, it's all about the personalities. It's all about the personalities, and it's all about the characters. Because if I can't get into the characters, yeah, all the flesh chomping and the killings are cool, but they mean nothing if you can't at least enjoy some of the characters. So I really enjoyed this one, man. I thought the acting's cheesy. It's not like award-winning, Meryl Streep shit, but it's not meant to be. Truth be told, man, it's fun. It truly is fun, and I enjoyed the hell out of this one. I really did, man. It's a little more unknown. I mean, it's not a Cannibal Ferox, it's not a Cannibal Holocaust, it's not any of those type of movies, but I don't think it was ever meant to be. It kind of rips off those movies within the genre, but it does it in a sort of, kind of, hey, we're having fun with this, and I kind of like that. So I enjoyed it, man. I really, really did. I was kind of shocked. I took a gamble on this, and actually the gamble kind of paid off, man. I'm not gonna lie, dude. And look, there's a lot of hot naked chicks. There's a lot of really cheesy jokes and one-liners, and there's a lot of really great gore and blood. How much do you really want? Just saying, guys. So Severin did a great job on this, man. You get an interview with one of the actors here, and he's great, dude. I'm not gonna lie. This guy is extremely honest and really forthcoming, because he says, look, I got out of jail, and I'm on parole. I need a job. Fuck it, I'll be an actor. He was like, okay, cool. And he was just talking about his career and the roles that he's done, and it's a fun interview. And he talks about the difficulties and the ridiculousness of some of the film shoots and his thoughts on the movies, and he's just really honest and forthcoming, man. I give the guy a lot of credit, dude. Really do. You also end up getting an interview with the co-writer, deleted and extended scenes trailer, and Italian credits. Yes, this is a good one, man. I'm not saying it's top tier like cannibal movie, cause you can't really compete with the big boys. The big boys are what they are. They're the big boys for a reason. But I do feel like just a step under are movies like Massacre in Dinosaur Valley, which are just fun. I mean, they're just really fun. Having to deal with slime bag characters, can't wait to see them die, and they die in really gruesome ways. And seeing the hero save the day. I mean, at the end of the day, what more can you ask for? I thought it was really fun, man, and I really liked it. So this one was definitely a pleasant surprise for me. If you like cannibal movies, I'd say take a gamble on this one. Not half bad. Massacre in Dinosaur Valley. And the next pickup is more Severin Love, and that is the Blu-ray of Primitives. Don't don't swallow your food all in one. Just chew it a little bit. Let it sink in, like a fine wine. You want to take that liver and tongue, and you'll savor it. You know what I'm saying? Captured by flesh-eating savages. Yes, very, very nice. Of course, the back there, nice. And on the inside, change the artwork to Savage Terror, which is another name for the movie, as well as most of these movies have multiple names anyways. But when I saw the package for that particular month for Severin, it was like, oh wow, Massacre in Dinosaur Valley and Primitives. Wow, another cannibal movie? Oh, I gotta get that, man. So I decided, what the hell, man? I'm gonna go for it. Now, this movie is about these researchers and guys that are going on this expedition, and eventually they run into these cannibals, and it's just a fight for survival and a fight not to get eaten or killed by these savages. And look, I'm not gonna lie on this one, guys. I wanted to like this movie, seriously, because look, as I said before, I love cannibal movies. I think cannibal movies are fucking awesome, man. But not every cannibal movie is created equal. And this is the honest truth, man. I mean, some people are gonna like this one. I personally didn't. And the main reason is it's not anything to do with not enough gore and blood, because look, there's plenty of that in this movie, man. Plenty. But I think the problem that I have primarily with this movie, for me, is just the fact of I don't know, man. I mean, I think for me the characters are just bland. They're bland and they're lifeless, and they don't really bring anything interesting to the table, and I don't really feel for the characters. They're just there to be fodder. And that was really the problem. And I think that's the difference between a movie like Primitives and a movie like Massacre in Dinosaur Valley, where with Massacre in Dinosaur Valley, there's a certain level of like fun and enjoyment, and the personalities are wild and outrageous, and you get to enjoy seeing their journey and seeing them get killed. In Primitives, not so much, man. And look, I mean, like I said, the blood and gore is there, the brutality is there, the locations are beautiful and gorgeous and sprawling. The jungle is lush. I mean, there's a lot of things going for the movie, but at the end of the day, I just didn't care, and that's because of the characters themselves. So, for me, the movie is a letdown. And when I'm just kind of bored watching the movie and the characters aren't really all that exciting, yes, it's cool to see. I guess I should say, with any blood and gore movie, right? Yes, I love the blood and gore, right? I love somebody getting hacked and killed and, stabbed and torn apart and flesh ripping off. It's fun to watch that stuff, okay? As like a gorehound, I love that shit. But I'm not gonna lie that at the end of the day, it's all kind of all for naught when you don't care about the characters and you're just going through the motions. And that's kind of where Primitives is for me in a lot of ways. It's a shame because it has a lot going for it, but at the end of the day, I just didn't care, and that's a real shame, man. As far as cannibal movies go, some just don't work out, honestly. I mean, Severin, look, at the end of the day, they did do some really good jobs with this. I mean, look, you get some interviews with the people involved with the production, and they're very honest and talking about the difficulties of shooting the movie and the practical effects and everything. I mean, there's a lot of stuff there, but I mean, I like their honesty. I like the fact that they wanted to do something unique and interesting. But for me, see, I don't mind if I watch a cannibal movie and it feels like I've been there, done that. Because look, the same thing can be said of Massacre in Dinosaur Valley. I've been there, done that. I've seen it. So it's not like this movie's bringing anything new to the table. But for me, Primitives, yes, it's not bringing anything new to the table, but it can still be unique and interesting and still be fun, and it just wasn't that. So I kind of felt bored by the whole affair. I mean, like I said, I love my cannibal movies, but cannibal movies, not all of them are created equal, and unfortunately, Primitives kind of show it. Hate to say it, but it is the truth, guys. Uh, if you like your foreign cannibal movies, still might be worth checking out, but go in with reserved expectations. Just saying. Primitives and all its bloody, chomp eating goodness. And the next pickup, guys, the last of the Severin lot, and that is none other than. Oh my god. Oh lord, and that is Jaws 5. Cruel Jaws. Oh my god. With this very extremely limited slipcover, man, because they can only sell a certain amount of these because honestly, you can't really put Jaws on the cover of a movie unless sort of Universal ends up, basically approving it. So they were like, okay, we're only gonna do a certain amount of these, and once that's it, we're done, man, and we're not getting sued. So I decided, what the hell, man? New terror surfaces. Oh, and on the inside there, of course, Cruel Jaws, right there, baby, very nice. So this is just another Jaws ripoff movie, man. What do you want me to say to you guys? Like, this is a fucking ripoff, dude. I mean, technically, I believe this was actually supposed to be Jaws 5. I mean, when the first Jaws came out, I believe, like, in the mid to late 70s, it it like not only did it revolutionize the summer blockbuster essentially, but like it just terrified the living shit out of people. And people couldn't go to the fucking toilet without them being like, oh, is there a shark coming out? No way, dude. It scared the living shit out of them. In fact, great story, guys. True story here. Um, my mother and father actually went to go see Jaws on a date, and my mother still says to this day that the first Jaws movie is the only movie that my father ever jumped at. I mean, he watched a lot of horror stuff that he ever jumped at, and that was the scene where the head sort of comes out of the water, and he's just like, oh, so Jaws holds a special place in my heart as in my family's heart. So I mean, I will always love that movie in so many ways. And then the sequels got subsequently lesser, right? I mean, Jaws 2 is not bad. It's pretty decent. Jaws 3 is, well, Jaws 3 in 3D. That's, it takes a major step down, man. It's got some fun elements, but it takes a major step down. Jaws 4, it's Jaws 4. And so it got lesser, but everybody was trying to get on the same trend. It just, you couldn't replicate the same stuff that first Jaws did, right? And Jaws 5 just goes even more in the fucking toilet, man. So, look, basically it's again just about this beach area, these teenagers. Shark is in the water. This sheriff is trying to protect the town and the people on the beach. Of course, the people who influence the town and everything, of course, don't want to close the regatta that's going to happen. And so they're doing everything to stop it. All the while, the shark is still munching on people, and you know the story, man. I mean, it's been the same fucking story over and over and over again, man. This time around, it's just done so fucking cheaply, dude. And I actually, my friend John watched this movie first before I did, and because he bought it, and he said, dude, if you like this movie, we got problems. and I'm like, okay, I can't wait to dive into this, fuckers. Look, this movie is all on the cheap, man. I mean, the way that it's shot, the acting. I'm not saying the acting has to be perfect, but damn, dude. I mean, you have literally some of the most amateurish acting. On top of that, I mean, you even have a fucking Hulk Hogan impersonator here, man. I mean, Jesus, like, I was waiting for him to be like, I am a real American. I'll fight for the rights of American. I wanted him to start doing and I want to be down the shore, and all you Hulkamaniacs out there, I was like, what is going on right now? I'm like, Jesus Christ. Um, look, man, it just came off as really amateurish at the end of the day. I mean, truly it did. And even a lot of the shark footage really, I mean, it steals from a lot of the other Jaws movies. I mean, that footage, if you look at it closely and look at the other Jaws movies, I mean, it steals directly from all that stuff. I mean, it's not even pretending to, man. It's going right for it. And some of it doesn't mix well together with the footage that they shot, and some of the kills aren't really all that clever or genius. The shark itself, when you actually see what they did with their own shark, looks really fucking terrible. I kind of think this might have been the version of what the original Jaws was had the fucking shark actually worked. I always love that whole stuff with Spielberg, where Spielberg talks about the movie, and he's like, well, God, the fucking shark wouldn't work. I mean, we're setting up shots, and the goddamn thing is not working, so we had to shoot around it, and we had to not show it as much, and end up working out to his benefit. Had he shown the shark more, it might have turned into a real big cheese fest. I mean, truthfully, I look at movies like this, and I'm like, God, what would have been? But it just, to me, man, I'm not gonna lie. This really disappointed me. I mean, the characters are so paper thin as far as characterization. They're cheeseball. The dialogue is cheesy. I don't mind cheeseball. I like cheesy shit, but this is just the characters are just stupid for stupid's sake, and they're just all bunch of different stereotypes from previous Jaws movies and other shark films. There's just nothing new, original, creative about this film whatsoever. And I get why people would like it, because it's a cheesy shark movie, and at the end of the day, it's not trying to go for ultra serious, but at the same time, it's trying to, and it's kind of failing at it. I would have rather liked the movie had it been maybe a little bit more tongue in cheek, had it tried not to be another typical Jaws ripoff. I might have enjoyed it, but this just came off as kind of weak and meandering and kind of boring, and the kills and the footage didn't really get me for with the shark. So at the end of the day, man, this movie just kind of really just disappointed me in a big bad way. Which is again a shame because the movie could have been decent, could have had some interesting things, but it honestly really failed in my opinion, man. I mean, look, give Severin a lot of credit because again, I mean, they do limited slipcovers to get you to buy the shit, and look, it worked, man. I bought it, but I mean, I'm not keeping it in the collection, but I mean, they do their best here. You do get the home video version or the Snyder cut. I picked the original theatrical edition to watch, the one that was shown by most people. I know there's a longer version out there on this disc. Honestly, after watching the original version, I didn't need to watch the longer version, man. It's a longer version of the same movie that I just fucking watched, and I didn't even like that version, so there's no point to me watching it. But it's out there for people who like it. There's also a really great, very interesting interview with Rebecca McKendry, who talks about the movie, this film, and talks about shark exploitation films. And it's such a really great look into shark films of the past and the ones that were successful and the ones that weren't successful, and sort of the coming up of the genre. It's really a fascinating interview with her, man. She really goes out of her way to really talk about some really unique and interesting shark movies, ones that I had never even heard of. So I love that feature on here. And there's another feature from one of the actors from the movie, and it's so interesting because he talks about working on the movie, and he talks about working with an Italian director and how the communication divide was really kind of rough because he would sort of say, oh, hey, do this or kind of the bare bones of like what you're gonna do, and then they would do something similar to that, and he would be like, God, God, he'd be like cursing in Italian, and they'd be like, hey, you stupid Americans, like, oh Lord, man. But he just talked about that they had fun with the movie, they had fun making the movie, but they knew what they were making at the end of the day, and I mean, he's surprised the movie even is still holds up to this day, and truth be told, I'm surprised, man. I mean, the movie is not that good, dude, and I'm not gonna lie, man. I mean, I wanted to buy it because look, it's Severin, it's Jaws 5. I probably should have known better, knowing that the other Jaws movies are not as good as the original, but fuck it, man. I tried. I didn't like it, dude. For me, I don't love all kinds of shark movies. There's only certain shark movies that I really love. Very few of them. I give a lot of chances to them, but man, it just some of them you just see those movies and you're like, dude, this is why the shark genre kind of is not as good as it is, because there's a lot of crap. There's very few good movies and there's a lot of shit, and then there's Cruel Jaws, and boy oh boy, what a mess of a movie. Oh Lord. There's something in the water. It's terrifying people. It's not the shark. It's actually this fucking movie. Oh boy. Good luck enjoying this one. It's definitely not for me. Cruel Jaws. And the next pickup, guys, well, speaking of bad movies, and I walked into this one, guys. I already knew about this one. And that is Battlefield Earth. Oh, damn. Okay, so I saw this movie in the movie theaters when it first got released. Yeah, I'm old. I'm just gonna say it, man. I'm old now. Damn, man. I was originally there for Battlefield Earth. I don't know how many of you can say that, but I can. God damn it. Oh boy. Oh, okay, look. So let's talk about this movie. Now, you have to understand the time period to understand Battlefield Earth, right? Because at this point, John Travolta was huge within the industry again. He had done Pulp Fiction, that skyrocketed him. Movies like Phenomenon and Get Shorty, Michael and a lot of other movies, like he was again becoming the box office king. He had influence in Hollywood, and of course, when you have influence and capital in a certain industry, well, what are you gonna do? Well, you're gonna spend it, and if you have a passion project, of course you're gonna maybe highlight it. Now, of course, you have Battlefield Earth here, which is from I believe a novel by L. Ron Hubbard, if I'm not mistaken. I believe it is. Now, how does John Travolta and L. Ron Hubbard have a connection together? Well, L. Ron Hubbard happened to be a Scientologist, and John Travolta just so happens to also be a Scientologist. Now, look, I don't know much about Scientology. Okay, I don't really know. I know a little bit here, a little bit there, but from what I know, it's a little bit like a cult. Okay, and so, you know, there's philosophies, there's certain understandings within Scientology that the members follow. L. Ron Hubbard was one of those influencers within Scientology that people still take his word as gospel. And one of them is John Travolta. John Travolta always wanted to adapt, L. Ron Hubbard's movies and his influence. He always did. And so why not Battlefield Earth? So that's what he did, for good or bad. That's his influence. What he did for Scientology is do movies for based on L. Ron Hubbard books. Sure, fine, whatever. But it's the journey of this movie, and it's it's people's, I think, reaction to this movie that has made this movie, I think, one of, or at least considered one of the worst movies of all time. Now, look, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I've seen a lot of movies in my time, a lot of them, and can I go ahead and say that Battlefield Earth is one of the worst movies of all time? No, I don't actually think I can. Now, basically, this movie takes place many, many years and decades after basically this alien race came down to Earth and basically took us over and controlled us, is stealing our natural resources and using the human population as their guinea pigs and their slave workforce. And basically, John Travolta is on Earth. He fucking hates it on Earth, man. It stinks, and the humans are disgusting, and breathing the air, and oh, I'm so much better than this. and so basically the higher ups, from John Travolta's race, basically don't like this guy. He basically slept with some commanding officer's daughter, and they basically left him on this. They're like, you're gonna be here for 200 more cycles. and so he's like, well, fuck this, man. I am going to do a scheme where I am going to gain more influence and basically uses the humans to his advantage to try to steal gold or steal this precious stuff on this earth. And he makes the humans smarter in order to have them help him. However, the humans are like, hey, by the way, if we're getting smarter, we can plan a revolt against them. And so it's kind of like two different storylines mashing together. It's Travolta's sort of power hungry ability to want to gain control and more influence versus the humans who want to actually gain their freedom back. And it's sort of the two warring things that are going on. Look, at the end of the day, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. The movie has its bad points. Okay, the dialogue is sometimes pretty fucking cheesy. There is ridiculous moments. The CGI, is not always phenomenal, but it's at the end of the 90s. Like I mean, what were you expecting, man? I mean, seriously. And even the design of the actual aliens themselves are not like they are in the L. Ron Hubbard book, right? It's not. And that was such an interesting thing because it's Battlefield Earth, it's L. Ron Hubbard, but it's not exactly L. Ron Hubbard. It's more of like the Hollywood version of what L. Ron Hubbard would be. And so it's kind of familiar to people who like L. Ron Hubbard, but it's not exactly. It's kind of like, oh my god, if I could say, it's kind of like soft rock. Right? Like I kind of like it. It's kind of interesting. It has a good beat to it, but it's not what I would consider rock. Like it's kind of off kilter, man. But then again, some people like soft rock, so what the hell? So I don't know, man. Like I can see why this movie got made because Travolta wanted it made. It was a passion project for him, and he's the one in the lead. He's starring in it. He's in the makeup. He's front and center. But it kind of felt like there was a lot of different ideas, and it was like a tug of war, man. And some of it works, and some of it doesn't. At the end of the day, I think it's a fun movie. It's a pulpy, ridiculous sci-fi movie that you can't take entirely seriously because some of it is just absolutely bonkers and some of it doesn't make any fucking sense, and other times you're just thinking like, I don't know whether this was intentional or whether they meant this, but goddamn, is this all kinds of like weird and ridiculous, but yet fun. And I can't look away at this train wreck, man. I mean, look, is it a not so great movie? Yes. Is it a so bad that it's good movie? Possibly. Is it one of the worst movies of all time? I don't think that. And I do believe, by the way, that when this movie came out, I mean, people hated on this movie. I mean, it got roasted by everybody, man. I mean, from John Travolta lovers to people who love L. Ron Hubbard, science fiction films. I mean, it was just like a confluence of like hate all over it. And of course, immediately it's like, oh my god, this is one of the worst movies of all time. It's like an Ed Wood movie, and I'm like, wait a minute, I kind of like Ed Wood movies. Look, I don't think it's the worst movie of all time because trust me, I have seen some dogs, man, of bad movies. This at least has entertainment value, man, and for that I give it somewhat credit. You know what I'm saying, man? But I know some people don't. I get it, but you know, I don't think it's the worst, man. I don't, dude. But give Mill Creek credit for putting this sucker out, dude. Please give Mill Creek credit. Because I think this movie would just languished in like whatever format hell it's in if it wasn't for Mill Creek. Mill Creek, like, hey, whatever. I mean, it is Travolta. I mean, and it is science fiction. So I mean, why not? I mean, you have some great features here, man, that really go into the making of this, whether it's the writing process or the directing process. They interview the director and the writer, and they're doing these interviews, and it's so fascinating because these people really talk about the difficulties that they had making this movie, where it just came down to certain things of like going to John Travolta's house and John Travolta, 1 minute loving the script and then the next minute literally hollering at the top of his lungs, about, oh my god, all these changes and I don't like these changes, and literally, you know, just having to deal with a certain amount of ego in Hollywood and how the studio slashed the budget and how they had to change things from the L. Ron Hubbard vision because they didn't like the fact that, oh, you can't see John Travolta's face, and they were like, no, trust us, you'll still be able to see John Travolta, and they're like, oh, like this, and that's like, talk about like a fucking fiasco, man, of making this movie. I mean, I would love to see a documentary on the making of this movie because it probably is a hell of a lot more fascinating than the movie itself. I mean, just so much difficulty and so much interesting stuff about the designs and the process, and it was so amazing to listen to these people because I love honest talk. I do, man. At the end of the day, when people are honest and they say, "Oh, talking about the honesty about this movie was just not that good," or "I had trouble," like they're not blowing smoke up anyone's ass. They're being real, and I really appreciated that, man. I mean, dude. I never thought I'd ever see in my life Battlefield Earth on fucking Blu-ray, man. I'm like, this movie ain't, it's gonna never get that, man. And look, rewatching the movie, I liked it. I haven't revisited this movie in so long, man, and there's a certain part of me that is like, I don't know if I love this movie, but all the hate that it's gotten over the years, is it really justified? I don't know if it is, man. I mean, it's not a great science fiction film. It's got a lot of problems, but it's certainly not the worst. And trust me, man, I've seen far worse than this movie. I, I'm gonna cut this movie some slack, man. At the end of the day, I think retroactively looking back on it, I can see where the hate was. But now, after so many years and decades now, I think we can reevaluate this movie and say maybe we shouldn't put on the worst of list. Maybe, or if we do, it's at like the very bottom of the list, like at the last rung. Cause trust me, man, there is worse out there. This is not bad. Just saying. Give it a chance. Revisit it. You might be pleasantly surprised. I was. Put it that way. Warts and all, it's not bad. Battlefield Earth. And the next pickup, guys, we're heading towards 88 films, and that is none other than this really great limited edition. I'm so happy to finally get this, man, and that is Piranha 2, The Spawning. Yeah, look at that. It started as a vacation. Oh, I love that slip, man. That's great. With the woman in the water when the piranhas are just, I don't know. Piranha staring at her ass? Well, he does have good taste. Oh my god, man. Yes, Piranha 2, and on the inside, I switched it to Piranha 2 Flying Killers. Yeah, look at that. God, man. Back in the day, the artwork. So awesome, man. God. Dude, Piranha motherfucking 2, dude. Holy shit. So, look, man. I'm not gonna lie. I I really do. When it comes to Roger Corman is cheap. Okay, let's be realistic here. Roger Corman is cheap, man. And he will cut as many corners as possible, but still make an entertaining as hell movie. And this one, I mean, look, the original Piranha, directed by Joe Dante, is actually pretty clever. Yes, it is almost like, in a lot of ways, a Jaws ripoff, but with Piranha. I thought it was really well done, man. For the time that it was made, I really enjoyed it. And, that movie made a lot of money and, got a certain amount of notice. And I'm sure that Roger Corman is thinking to himself, well, my God, man, I mean, let's make a sequel. Why not? And, God, what can we do? Because we can't do the same thing. We gotta do something different. Oh, what if they're flying piranha? Oh, well, yeah, come on, man. I mean, what's more terrifying than piranha in the water? It's like flying piranha coming at your face. Oh my god. Basically in a nutshell, it's just basically the death of this scuba diver and this sort of patrolling the water police officer sheriff played by Lance Henriksen, uncovering the mysteries and what's going on and trying to stop these piranha from wreaking havoc. That's pretty much what it is, man. And this movie is directed by James motherfucking Cameron. This is like the first movie ever directed by James Cameron. I mean, The Terminator, Titanic, motherfucking James Cameron. Now, there's been sort of a lot of reports back and forth over the years of, well, did James Cameron really direct this movie or did he not? There's always sort of people that sort of always put up certain little like factoids I would like to think he did. Cheesy as all hell as this movie is, you can sort of see maybe some signature James Cameron esque moments in this film, man. And look, at the end of the day, this is a fun movie. Yes, there is some cool piranha flying action, and yes, there is some cool blood and gore in here with some of the effects. But let's be real, there's not much piranha action in here when all is said and done. I mean, it is basically a. It has her horror elements, but it has like some quirky comedy in it as well. Like, certain things of like, a woman wanting to find sort of a doctor, to sort of be with, that sets her up for life. You have, basically, the teenagers, and you have this guy that's trying to like have sex with this other, doctor. There's so many weird storylines in this film, man. And at the end of the day, I'm like, wow. Like, probably Roger Corman probably said to Cameron and everything, well, we only have a certain amount of a budget here. We can only afford a certain amount of effects, and we can only afford a certain amount of days where we can actually have piranha killer action. So you kind of gotta stretch the movie out a little bit, Jim. You know what I'm saying, man? So you kind of gotta make it a little more entertaining. And I know we don't have a lot of money, and so you can kind of feel that they're stretching this thing out as like it's almost like a fucking rubber band. They're like, oh, yes, Mr. Corman, we can go a little further. Oh, like, oh my god, man. But I gotta tell you, when the piranha action happens and the killings do happen and the blood and gore, they are pretty cool. They are pretty fun. I like the flying, like the flying piranha. I'm like that's it's cheesy, but it's kind of cool, man. I do like it, and it was really cool to see Lance Henriksen here. And it's kind of weird because it's really the first time that him and James Cameron ever sort of collaborate, because of course he would end up being in the Terminator and of course Aliens. So he's done stuff with James Cameron, after this obviously, but this was like a cool little starting point. And I'm not gonna lie, man, the characters are fun and quirky. The piranha action when it happens is cool. The the effects and everything, the gore, the blood is cool too. I like the underwater ocean stuff. Technically speaking, for a cheap Roger Corman movie, it is fun. Okay? And it's not meant to be taken crazy seriously. You just sort of sit back and go for the ridiculous ride. And most of the time when you're watching Roger Corman, that's what you get. But it ends up being a great fun experience. And this was, man. Truth be told, it was fun, man, all things considered. Now, unfortunately, you don't get any special features with this release. I really wish we did, man. I know the Shout Factory a long time ago put out an edition of Piranha 2, and it doesn't really have much special features, but it has a couple of interviews, and I wish we would have gotten something here. I know that with COVID and everything, trying to get interviews from people or trying to do stuff, it is difficult. I would have loved to see them carry over the stuff from Shout Factory, but alas, we didn't get it. But something is better than nothing, and having it in the collection now is still worthy. And look, man, I mean, I can't say I love everything Roger Corman, but for me, when Roger Corman hits, he really hits. And so Piranha 2 it has its cool moments, man. It's ridiculous, it's over the top, it's cheesy. Some of it doesn't make a lick of fucking sense, but that's Corman for you. And it is fun. And hey, seeing Jim Cameron's first movie being a cheesy Roger Corman film, how can you not love that? Flying piranha goodness. So good. Piranha 2, The Spawning. And the next pickup that I got, guys, we are heading towards Arrow Video territory with... Damn, do I love this movie. I really do, man. I'm so happy Arrow put this out. And that is the Blu-ray of Mallrats, baby. Look at that, man. That art is primo, baby. That is some nice art, man. I love that art. And on the inside, you have the original classic artwork from the 90s. God, dude, I love these sorts of artwork, man. Oh, dude, back in the day, artwork was awesome. What are you kidding me, man? Now, it comes with obviously a booklet, which is really, really cool, man. But that's not my favorite part of this release. Not by a long shot, man. My favorite part, and this was so cool that Arrow Video did this, man. They actually put together a little, like, schematic of Jay and Silent Bob's attempt to to thwart the game show. Like, that is so cool. Look at that, man. Oh, dude, that is awesome. I gotta admit, man, that that is that is fucking cool, dude. Like when Arrow Video goes out of their way to do something, they really go out of their way, man. And this is awesome. This is seriously all kinds of awesome, man. Ah, dude, you seriously gotta love Arrow Video, man. So let's get into Mallrats, shall we? Now, when it comes to Kevin Smith, I have sort of a love-hate relationship with Kevin Smith. I love a lot of his early movies and his later ones, not so much. But I remember, and again, this was around '94. I'm a movie lover at this point. I'm watching movies, but I'm not like actively engaged with the movie community. So there's things that passed me by that I eventually found. But when Mallrats came out, you have to remember Kevin Smith at this point. Because Clerks came out in '94, or around that, '93, '94, somewhere around there. And everybody was really applauding Kevin Smith. They were like, "Oh my God, this is a brilliant movie, and it's a great statement about the generation." And he got so much love and praise for that movie, and a lot of people thought of him as such a wonderful up and coming director. And people wanted to know what his next feature was, and then he did Mallrats. And oh my God, if you go back and really look at it, truly, everybody who supported Kevin Smith, everybody who really went out of their way to praise him and couldn't wait to see what he did next, all of them, and I seriously mean this, all of them abandoned him in like one fell swoop. They were hating on him for this movie. I mean, Siskel and Ebert and all the newspapers and publications. I mean, everybody was shitting on Kevin Smith, man. So you go from such a big high to like the biggest low, man. And over the intervening years, when he would make stuff like Chasing Amy or Dogma, Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, a lot of those other movies, a lot of people always considered Mallrats sort of that redheaded stepchild within his filmography, and every director has it. So it's not like he's the only one, but everybody has. And so I remember like this always getting some sort of hate. And then Kevin Smith kept doing more things. He did Jersey Girl, and he did a lot of other movies. And I think people started to sort of look at Mallrats in a different way. And I think with geek culture becoming more prevalent and obviously more comic book movies and all of that genre really coming more to the forefront, I think people reevaluated Mallrats and really sort of saw it in a different light than maybe they did in the mid '90s when it originally came out. I mean, basically it's about these teenagers, these teenagers, 20 somethings at a mall, and just the hijinks that they get into, the mall culture. And for me, this movie always spoke to me, man. I mean, truly, it always did, because whether it was the humor or whether it was just hanging out at the mall. Because yes, we still have malls today. Yes, they still exist, honestly, but the mall culture, I don't know if it's as powerful as it once was back in the 80s and the 90s of just hang out with your friends. And what would you do? You'd go to the mall and you just go to store and weird little hijink stuff and goofing around, and that's what you did. And that was just the normal part of it. Your parents would leave you at the mall and say, "Hey, I'll pick you up at so and so a time," and oh, okay, you went. And it was just a blast. And as somebody who was a comic book lover, as somebody who loved Stan Lee and loved superheroes, to have somebody like Kevin Smith making a movie like this about these sort of geeks and these sarcastic people in the mall, like that was me. That was who I was, man. And so that spoke to me in like the biggest way possible. And I mean, I think what people thought, they looked at Clerks and they said, wow, there's an artistic sensibility here, and wow, why he's going to be such an artistic director going forward. And they never took the essence of what Clerks was. Clerks was just these 20 something, almost like losers that was in this gas station, cigarettes, whatever video store, and just kind of living their life. And so I think there was a lot of unrealistic expectations for Kevin Smith at that time. There really was. And I don't think, no matter what his second movie was, he was ever going to really deliver. He is a creature of pop culture. He is a creature of sort of that geek and nerd culture that he grew up on, and he wanted to bring it to the masses, and he wanted to bring his voice there. And he made a lot of really great movies that really spoke to a lot of people within that generation. And I think Mallrats was one of them. Whereas at the time when this movie came out, I think there was a lot of adults that couldn't really see the power of this movie and how it really spoke to a generation. But that generation grew up and prompted movies like Mallrats up and say, no, no, you guys never understood this movie. This was such a misunderstood film. And I think now people see the fun, they see the hilarity, they see the hijinks, they they see the fun in this movie, and they say, yeah, that's what we were. That's what we want. This is a great time capsule of that time period, and I really enjoy this. I mean, the performances are great here. I mean, Rooker is awesome. Okay, Rooker is great here. It's one of my first experiences that I ever had with Rooker. And I was like, dude, this guy is such an uptight pain in the ass. And but getting to know more about Rooker's films later on, I'm like, dude, he was just having fun with being this tight ass, and it's so great here. Jay and Silent Bob and just their hijinks together. And what I love is that Jay and Silent Bob are different characters depending on the movie. Like Clerks, they're more, like almost like, like just like chillaxing, at the convenience store selling weed. Here they're almost like goofy partners in crime, and I always love that, man. Especially like their hijinks with him, like wearing the Batman mask and everything. I mean, that's so cool, dude. I mean, that I liked Jason London here. I liked Jason Lee. Jason Lee is so good in this, man. And Jason Lee, dude, like he to me, like yes, he's done other films, but this is gonna be the role for me that defines his career, man. Just the sarcasm and the hatred for authority, and just sort of that part of me that always was like, oh yeah, we're going against the establishment, we're going against up against the man and all the adults that think they know better, and he was just a great sort of symbol for that, and symbol for geek culture. And I thought the screenplay here, the dialogue was brilliant and really sort of captured the spirit of the time. And there's so much that I really love about this film, man. Truly, the movie. I think I'm so glad the movie has been reevaluated years later, and people have been able to sort of see it and really get more of an understanding about the movie and maybe give it a second chance. It was so maligned when it came out, man, and now I think people look at it as a very popular Kevin Smith movie, and others maybe taking more of a back seat when before this was like in the back seat, man. Now it's more in the driver's seat, and I'm so glad to see that, dude. I mean, you get here the theatrical cut, you get the extended and TV cut. I like the theatrical cut. I've seen the extended cut. I've actually watched it. I used to have the former Blu-ray that had both of the cuts on there. I like the theatrical. The extended is good. There's extra stuff there, but for some reason the theatrical it plays a little bit better for me, but I do appreciate the extended. I like some of the extra stuff in there. I think it plays just a little bit better, more streamlined, but both of the editions are really cool, man. You also get here a brand new restoration by Arrow Films. You end up getting obviously a TV cut. You get the collector's booklet. You get an audio commentary with Kevin Smith, the archival commentaries. You get an all new interview with Kevin Smith, a newly filmed tribute to one of the producers who really believed in Kevin Smith at the time. You get brand new interviews with Jason Mewes, with the cinematographer, a newly produced making of documentary featuring the crew members, cast interviews, and anniversary screenings, and so much more. Guys, this is a great addition. And there's so many other films in Kevin Smith's filmography that have gotten a lot of love on other editions and movies that have been praised a lot. And I think now it's time for Mallrats to get that same type of love and appreciation. And I think it has over the years, and I think it continues to do it to this day. This is by far not Kevin Smith's worst movie. It's not maybe his best movie, but it's one that has a pure nostalgic place in my heart that I truly, truly love. And so this spoke to me. I was a 90s kid, and this movie is sort of one of my Bibles in life. Truly, truly is. I love this movie so much. Arrow Video did an awesome job. If you love Kevin Smith, must have Mallrats. And the next pickup I got, guys, we're now heading towards Kino Lorber, and dude, I'm so glad this got a release, man. Truly, so glad. And that is Deep Star 6, baby. Oh, man, love this movie, dude. Look at that great cover, man. Awesome, awesome, great slip. And on the inside, all this wonderful artwork. Look at that sea monster. So cool, man. Oh, dude. I haven't seen this one in a long time. Because when it comes to creature features, I think honestly some of the ones that have been really cool are the sort of unknown, you know, in the ocean monsters. The ones that, the mystery of the ocean and the creatures in there and stuff that you awake that shouldn't be awoken. Like I love that stuff, man. And I remember when I watched this years and years and years ago, because you find all these horror movies, you find all these monster movies, and then eventually you end up finding maybe not exactly the more well-known ones, but the lesser-known ones. And you hear from people like, "Oh, if you love this movie, then you gotta watch this." And Deep Star 6 was one of those ones, man. And it was also a curiosity for me because of Sean S. Cunningham, who directed this movie. And I'm like, okay, Friday the 13th, Sean S. Cunningham. I got it. It's just, and I think that's what a lot of horror fans really were attracted to. And basically, it's about this research crew who is trying to put up a sort of a top secret base. And what they end up finding is more than they bargained for, put it that way. And I love this movie, man, so much because, and I know it's kind of a slow build movie, and I think when people talk about this movie, they always talk about, oh, it's kind of a slow build, and you don't get to really see the monster as much as you ought to, and it's kind of chintzy, and I get it, dude, I get it all, but there's something about, and I don't even know if you guys agree with me, but there's something about the old school practical effects. Seeing a practical, huge, gigantic monster like in the hull of the ship or something that's like coming at you and grabbing your tentacles, grabbing you or something like that. There's something about it that I so love, man, and I love this, and I love this crew of so very interesting, diverse personalities. Some are really brave, some are scared, some act tough but are actually real sissies, and sort of, who can you trust and who can you not when you're trying to survive for your life at the bottom of the ocean. Like, that is really, really great, man. I mean, Miguel Ferreira here is really great. You have Nancy Everhart from The Punisher as well. You have Cindy Pickett from Ferris Bueller's Day Off. I mean, you have so much really, really great talent in this movie. It's really amazing, man. And I just love it because, like, you think you can trust somebody and then they're a traitor to you, or they're looking out for their own skin. I love it. And just when you think you've escaped, the monster comes in. Like, it's really well done, man. And I think when it came out, a lot of people were maybe expecting something a little bit different. They weren't expecting, this type of movie, but I think, see, after a while, horror changes and it morphs. And if you look at the original Friday the 13th, where it was a slow build, there were great kills, but it was a slow build of revealing the killer and revealing all that stuff. A slasher stalker movie is different from a undersea monster movie. And Sean S. Cunningham tried to take the same sensibility from Friday the 13th into this film, just with a different setting. I think it works. I really do. Like I said, I like the old school practical effects. I like the look of the monster. I like the personalities on the crew. I like the survival aspect to it. It almost reminded me, almost like of an undersea, underwater version of Alien. I guess I could say. Whereas, down and dirty and filthy, and the different personalities on the actual, like, ship itself, and this monster that is slowly killing people, and what is it. I like that mystery aspect to it of this horror film. I like it. Undersea monster movies have sort of kind of been making a comeback a little bit. I mean, you have Underwater, that is a really fantastic movie, and you have a lot of other ones that have come out, from this film, movies like Leviathan and a lot of other stuff. I do think Leviathan, most likely to me, is on par with this movie, maybe a little bit better, but I've always really loved Deep Star 6, and I always felt like it's a movie that maybe got a little misunderstood when it originally came out, and I think that people have reevaluated over the years, and I think people have been a little bit more receptive to the movie, seeing other underwater horror films that have come out since. It's good, dude. It's a good slice of sort of 80s horror that I think Sean S. Cunningham does a really great job with, and the old school practical effects are awesome. So for me, I enjoy it. It's not for everybody. Not everybody loves underwater horror. I happen to enjoy it. Well, what can I tell you guys? But Kino Lorber does a really good job here, man. I mean, you get audio commentary by Sean S. Cunningham. You get audio commentary by the screenwriters. You get From the Deep interviews with creature effects and special makeup designers. And that is such a great one because they talk about working on other projects or projects that they were supposed to do. And Sean S. Cunningham came to them and was like, "Hey, can you guys help me out?" And the design, and they were like, "Oh my God, this is like a great idea. We can't say no to this." And just making the monster, and it's so great, dude. I love all those little intricate of like, how did we get this done type of stuff. I think it's amazing, dude. You also get the survivors interviews with a couple of the actors, which is really great. Working on the movie, the difficulties with the water and the intensity, and working with this sort of mechanical puppet, and it's so great, dude. Great stuff there, man. You also end up getting an interview with the stunt coordinator, which I totally forgot. Actually, the stunt coordinator was Kane Hodder. Kane Hodder, Jason motherfucking Voorhees was the stunt coordinator on Deep Star 6. I totally forgot about that. Dude, man, and he has some great stories, man. He did some great stuff. And you also get vintage interview clips, theatrical trailer, image gallery, TV spots. It's great, dude. I really do love this movie. And again, I feel like initially when these movies came out, they were disregarded. Oh, another stupid horror monster movie. And I think over the years, that's what I so love about the horror genre and about horror fans is that they don't care about what a Siskel and Ebert thinks, or they don't care about what a New York Times review article thinks, or something. They are people that really embrace the genre and embrace a lot of movies, and they will tell you if a movie is good or bad. They are going to tell you, and this movie is really, really fantastic. And it's a slow burn, it's a slow build, but the payoff really does pay off, and the monster effects are really cool. So I can see why this has been embraced over the years, because it's not about the critics, it's about actually the fan base. And if you make it for the fans, they are going to come and support you. And Sean S. Cunningham knows all about that, man. So this is a good one. It's a good one. Deep sea horror. It's one of the better ones. Not half bad, man. If you love it, give it a go. Deep Star 6. And the next pickup, guys, is some more underwater goodness. Not exactly underwater horror, but it does have some elements. We're with 101 Films and The Deep. Yes. Oh, look at that, man. Is anything worth the terror of The Deep? Oh, I love that artwork, man. Robert Shaw, Jacqueline Bisset, Nick motherfucking Nolte, man. Damn. 1977. This is old school, baby. So, this movie is basically about this couple played by Jacqueline Bisset and Nick Nolte, and they're on vacation, and they're swimming underwater in the ocean with the fish, having a good time, and they come across this sort of uh, ship or boat. It's wrecked. It's been down there for a long, long, long time, and they end up finding this very old school coin, among other things. And they go to sort of these local people. Hey, what is this? Is this worth anything? What's going on? And eventually, basically, they get into more trouble than they ever realized what was going to happen. They have to fear for their lives, and people are coming for them. And they realize that what they brought up to the surface is something more than they would have ever anticipated. And I won't say much past that, but what I will say is that I've always heard of this movie, but I've never actually seen it. And I was very intrigued by this because when 101 Films announced it, I'm like, okay, man, I'm gonna give this one a chance. Now, this is a very interesting movie at this point because you have to remember it's 1977, so Robert Shaw is in this. And now Robert Shaw was in Jaws in 1975, I believe. So again, underwater horror, in the ocean. Obviously, Jaws was a huge, huge success. So anything that was not exactly similar, but in the ocean, in the water, got people's attention at the studios, and they wanted to make it. And also, look, people wanted Robert Shaw. If you're in a really successful Hollywood blockbuster, of course people are going to want you. And there's been interviews where Robert Shaw has, when he was around, talking about how he turned down a lot of scripts that were similar to Jaws or underwater stuff that he just felt like was basically ripoffs. But he accepted The Deep, I think, because he really loved the script and wanted to work with the director. And so, I think he was picking his projects very, very carefully. And I think this one really caught his eye. And also, it's just a really great time capsule for these actors. You look at an extremely young Nick Nolte, man. This was before Nick Nolte really became a household name. And it was so interesting because in interviews and everything, they talk about how Nick Nolte was not the director's first choice. He didn't really want to work with Nick Nolte. Nick Nolte didn't want to really go on to the movie, and so it was one of those things where even the studio didn't really want Nick Nolte, but the producer, I believe, actually did, and so he fought for Nick Nolte, and it worked out actually, crazy enough, man. And even Jacqueline Bisset, which if you look at this movie, my God, Jacqueline Bisset is so gorgeous. I mean, stunning. And this was really the start of Jacqueline Bisset really becoming like this sex symbol and this woman of like men and boys fantasies. And you can see why when you watch the movie. I'll just put it that way, man. But this was really the start of that. And even you have in here Louis Gossett Jr. And I love seeing Louis Gossett Jr. here because he plays the bad guy. He plays the scheming bad guy who knows what's down there, knows the treasure, and really wants to sort of use these people to his advantage. And he's so young. God, he's so young here, man. And I love him here. He's really conniving and very evil, and I love him, man. He's one of those bad guys that is almost a step or two ahead of you, and you got to be clever to sort of outfool him. And I love that so much, man. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, this movie is a long movie. It's over 2 hours long. Okay, it is a long flick, and there are moments where this film does drag. But I gotta admit, the good far outweighs the bad here. Number one, the cinematography is beautiful. The underwater stuff when they're in there. I love the tense music. I love the acting here. Nick Nolte is fantastic here. I love Jacqueline Bisset. Robert Shaw is amazing here. Being this guy that they're coming to for advice, and he knows the ocean and he knows the town and the community and who's after these people and trying to protect them. He is so great here, and he looks nothing like how he does in Jaws, man. He's got like the gnarly beard and like almost like the fisherman clothing. Here he's clean shaven. He's wearing nice clothing. Like you're like, dude, like it's so far from like your Jaws personality. And I think that's another reason why he took it. It wasn't the same sort of gruff fisherman dude that he was in that one movie. It took him a little bit different of an acting challenge, which I think he liked. But I thought everybody did an awesome job here. I thought the tension, I thought the action scenes were really thrilling and on the edge of your seat. There's especially one where these cars are literally chasing them down, and Nick Nolte and Jacqueline Bisset are on bikes, and they're just like riding the bikes like furiously as these people are like just driving up to them, like wanting to run them over, and you're just like you're like, oh my God, I hope they're gonna be okay. Every time they're underwater and in this wrecked ship, and there's so much really great stuff to really enjoy with this film, man. This is an old school 1970s sort of dramatic, underwater thriller, but it's so well done. It's so well master planned and so well executed that it's just really stunned me how good it is. And it's a movie that honestly seems to be forgotten because nobody really ever talks about this movie, but they honestly should. So well done, man. It's beautiful to look at. The story is great. The characters are intriguing, And honestly, the 2 hour plus hours really breezed by. So I loved it, man. And 101 Films does a good job because you have an interview with the underwater art director. You have a commentary by critic Kevin Lyons, and he actually dives into a lot of really great points with this movie. He is kind of dry, but he dives into the director, Nick Nolte's career, Robert Shaw at that point, underwater movies. He's a boatload of knowledge, man. Really, really great stuff here. You also have the making of the Deep, Cinema Retro mini magazine, the Deep Film in Focus special, which of course is right here as well. Very nice. Some really great features and a really solid, underwater buried treasure survival movie, which is really good, man. I always love the potential of underwater and what you could get. It's not just about monster movies, but about, we find this buried treasure and what did we dig up and the dangers of that. Like the Deep has it, man. You could do these movies nowadays, but yeah, you have the CGI and everything. Back in the 70s, man, this was all practical. You had to do this shit. You had to learn how to dive, and that's what Nick Nolte and Jacqueline Bisset did. They had to learn how to dive and take those classes and actually be actually underwater and doing that stuff. And there's great stories in the extras of like how people almost died and they panicked and man, doing that shit for real, you feel it, man. And this movie has it. I love the Deep. I thought it was awesome, dude. So for me, old school 1970s still has some great treasures worth finding, and the Deep is definitely one of them. Not half bad, man. Definitely give it a look if you're interested in underwater goodness. The Deep. And my last pickup for October, last, but certainly not least, and that is the Blu-ray from Ronin Flicks of Haunt. Oh my God, dude. God, do I love this movie, man. Long time coming to have this thing on Blu-ray. What are you carving this Halloween? Oh, so good. So we got the slip there, and on the inside, the same artwork as well. Now, this is actually the standard edition. Ronin Flicks is selling a limited collector's edition release for this, which has, some lobby cards in it and some different artwork and whatnot. I didn't really need that. I was okay with the standard Blu-ray, but I am so glad to see this thing getting a Blu-ray release because I remember when this came out the week that I did the Out and About video, and I go, the cover looks cool, and I like the synopsis. I'm thinking, okay. And so I watch it, and I'm just blown away by the movie. I'm blown away by how awesome it is, how the creep factor turned up to like 11, and the kills, and the characters. I just loved it all. And I was actually going to pick it up at that point. And I thought a Blu-ray would have came out, but it was only the DVD. And at that point, I had to make a choice. Do I buy the DVD and say, well, we're probably never going to get a Blu-ray? Or do I say, you know what, I'm going to hold off and maybe down the line at some point, God willing, we're going to get a Blu-ray release. And so I took the gamble. And I'm so glad that I took the gamble, guys. I mean, basically, this is about a group of friends who go to this extreme haunted house and realize that they think it's all fake. They think it's, all for show. Obviously, it's Halloween. They're doing all these, haunted house stuff. And they realize that it is so much more dangerous and so more real than they could have ever possibly imagined. Guys, I was in love with this movie from the moment I watched it, man. I mean, the designs of the actual, like, clown masks and the people behind them and just the eeriness of it and the hauntingness and the idea that these people, it's not like they have an ulterior motive of why they're doing it, right? Oh, well, this this survivor girl is my sister's brother's cousin, and I'm connected with her, and it's part of the rune stones, and it's like it's not nothing like that. It's the fact that these people just want to kill. They just want to kill, and that's it. And they don't care who it is. They just want to massacre and murder people, and that in itself is eerie. It reminds me a lot of like The Strangers, of like, you're looking for a reason that makes sense, and they say, oh well you're home, and you're like, oh my god, there's people out there like that are just sick individuals, and that's what Haunt reminded me of. And I love the personalities of the friends. Obviously, yeah, you have the goofball character, you have the jock, yeah, you have the survivor girl, you have all those things. But you have the personalities, but how they play them and how they go about, dealing with the dilemma that they're in, I thought is really great. I like where they're having fun, and that fun slowly turns, and slowly, like, there's a great scene in the movie sort of early on when they're in the haunted house, where this girl, she's sort of strapped down, and she's sort of yelling for help. He's like, oh, help me, help me, help me. And like then they're all like, oh wow, this is so realistic, and then this one girl is like, I don't think this is fake. Like, I think this is real, man. And it's like suddenly the slow realization of what's going on, the fact that they're trapped in this thing. It's great, and the kills are bloody. The gore factor is awesome here. I thought the kills were really well done. I mean, for an indie horror flick, there's not many sort of new horror films that really I get attached to anymore. Like, I watch them and I like them, but I don't really go out of my way to say, oh, these are really great, wonderful movies. Like, I'm going to put them in the collection. There's very few that I do that with. I'm more of an old school horror movie lover than more of the new school. But there does at times come around a movie, a great horror movie, that really sort of makes me stand up and say, holy shit, the genre can still be great. There can still be really awesome and wonderful fucking movies that come out that really just make you say, like, man, this years from now is going to be praised. And Haunt is one of those, man. Truly, it's really great. Everything I thought was really well done here. Yes, it's not a big budget movie, it's a lower budget film, but the way they make it work is you could tell that they're students of the genre, that they know the horror genre, they're fans of it, they appreciate it, and they know how to go about making a great story and doing the kills and the creepy characters and the design. So it works on all levels, truly does, man. And Ronin Flicks, give Ronin Flicks a lot of credit, because when this came out, I think on DVD, there was barely any special features, if any. I actually think there was no special features on the DVD. So Ronin Flicks really went out of their way to make some really great features for this. You have a new audio commentary with some of the actors here, and they have fun with this. Obviously they have fun really talking about the movie and the making of it, but also also spending time with one and another, and the intentions for the film, and the reception. A lot of really great stuff, man. You also end up getting the making of Haunt, featuring interviews with the directors, the writers, actors, uh, crew members, the composers, and much, much more. Such really, really great and wonderful interviews. And give Ronin Flicks credit, because a lot of these people actually, they were doing all their interviews through like Zoom or Skype or something, because of course we're in coronavirus, so these people aren't going to be in person. And they were able to make it all work. Those people were really honest and forthcoming about the making of the movie and how they got cast and their intentions. It was really well done, man. In the age of COVID, you can still do special features right. You just got to know how to do it, and they did. They got it done. And so some great interviews here, man. You also get an under commentary with the writer directors, and that's really fantastic. Again, very knowledgeable. They know about horror. They know about the genre. They're fans, and you could tell how they wanted to make this movie. That they've seen other haunted house movies. That they've seen killers on the loose films, and what their intentions for the movie was. Great stuff here, man. You have that Behind the Haunt, The Sound of Haunt, deleted scene, theatrical trailer, Q&As, and much more. It's a great movie, guys. Honestly, as far as I'm concerned, you know, there is times when I look at a horror movie and I say, this reminds me of old school horror. And Haunt does, dude. I mean, from the masks to the way that the killers are stalking the victims, to the moments of like humor and levity, and then you just get like hit with a kill, and you're like, oh my god, man! It's really phenomenal what they did with this film, and as a horror lover, I truly appreciate this movie, and I know it's not a very well known movie. But hopefully over time people really get to find this flick, because it is a gem. I promise you. It truly is a gem. And in Ronin Flicks, finally, thank God for Ronin Flicks putting out a Blu-ray release. Because, who knows? I may have lost hope and eventually bought the DVD, but I held out for hopefully a great edition. And Ronin Flicks delivered, man. A good horror film worth diving into. Creepy killers on the loose. It's a genre unto itself. And just like The Strangers, this is definitely a keeper. Not half bad, man. Haunt. Alright, everybody. That'll do it for the Blu-ray pick-up video for October of 2020. Finally getting the video done for you guys. And my god, man. October is always a very plentiful month, dare I say. And this time around, I think it delivered. Some were worthy, others not so much, but all very entertaining in all of their unique ways. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Definitely let me know what you guys picked up for October. I know it's been a while, but hey, who can forget October? It's a great month. Come on. So hopefully you guys picked up something good. If you did, definitely let me know. And now we are heading towards November of 2020. Now, November is not going to be as plentiful as October or some of the past months have been. November was a little bit lighter, but there's still a lot of really great stuff. I got Arrow Video. I got Kino Lorber. I got Scream Factory. I got 90s cheesy action goodness. I've got 80s sci-fi cheese. I've got Fulci as well, plus so much more. Guys, November, even though it'll be a little bit lesser of a stack, will be very entertaining, I guarantee you. So definitely stay tuned for that. But I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, definitely give it the thumbs up. And if you're new to the channel, welcome. Check out the other Blu-ray pickup videos that I've done. The Blu-ray and DVD Tuesday videos I do every single week. The movie reviews I do with my friends. Movie hunting like Dollar Tree trips. Definitely check those out. Live streams plus much more. If you're a fan of movies and physical media, hit subscribe and become a part of the Film Fan Nation. I want to thank all of my really great subscribers out there. All of you guys are really amazing and wonderful, and put your all into watching the channel and everything that I have to say, and I really just appreciate the support and the honest feedback, and you guys are what keep this channel going, so I truly appreciate you 110% from the bottom of my heart. I really honestly do, so thank you so much. And to keep up to date with everything I'm doing through Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, FilmFan108, keep up to date with everything I'm doing, plus special pictures and videos I do from time to time on social media as well. Alright guys, I will see you back next time for a brand new Blu-ray pickup video. Take care everybody, and happy hunting.